JSA issue 14, Geoff Johns and David Goyer writing with Stephen Sadowski on the art. And we left off in the cliffhanger. We're in this, fake Hawk and Dove world that Hawk's built, or Extant's built, I should maybe say, to be more
precise,
accurate with these things. And it's an okay issue. I think I always remembered out of this first book, this arc at the end, this book being kind of my least favorite. But a bit more sort of wishy-washy, because I think the last issue, it was maybe one of the not like a super bad issue or a super low rating, but it was definitely one of the lower ratings that we've given a JSA book. And I feel like this issue kind of continues that. There's some fun stuff. Comic books love to pull we're in the fake world that's been made just for this storyline kind of thing. Hell, we're doing it right now with Death Metal, right? We're in like a weird version of Earth just for the story.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I'm enjoying that.
I thought you were going to complain about the inside the Fate world then for a moment.
Oh no! That's been established before. That's
yeah.
That's more of a sort of consistent sort of safe haven they can go to that's been set up earlier in the run. So yeah, and there's with Fate and the others, the ones who were perceived to have died, Fate actually brought into the amulet, and they're in there kind of regrouping, doing whatever. The others are out fighting the Hawk and Dove Knights, and try to figure out what to do. And they kind of they occasionally one of them has the Fate amulet, and there's certain points where they can hear something or they feel something coming from the amulet. Notably when Fate goes to speak to Mordru for advice, because Mordru may actually know how to fight this. Because remember, they've got him trapped in there. That's from the second or first arc that we had.
Yeah, I think the first arc in the Tower of Fate.
And there's a moment where he starts maniacally laughing at the end, and like the ones on the outside are like, "Do you hear laughing?"
Yeah,
there's laughing somewhere as they're going to find the Mobius chair. And they pull this switcheroo where the ones inside the amulet actually switch places with the ones outside the amulet, and this sort of like freaks Extant out a little bit. The advice that Mordru gives is basically just find Dove. Dove's in here somewhere, and that she'll be able to kind of like bring him back down in some capacity.
It's solid theory.
Yeah. Also whispers to him, what was it, the Clockwork Man is the key or something like that? It's
yeah, meaning Owlman.
Yeah. Really specific way of phrasing it though.
It is. Yeah, they established that Owlman actually kept a sliver of the Warlagog.
The Warlagog, yes.
Oh, I'm impressing myself there. Yeah, he kept a sliver of it, so it's not actually complete what Extant has, which means there's the potential for blind spots.
There's a flaw, yeah. There's a kink in the system they can exploit, possibly. So, I mean, if I have a complaint in terms of just storytelling, when the switch itself happens, I feel like there's maybe could have been something better in the art to show that they swapped places in a really sort of visual way, because I didn't really get it until, like, I think Stan says, "Where have the others gone?" And it took me, a few panels to really get what had just happened, and I felt like it could have been probably clearer.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. It doesn't play it as a big moment or anything like that. It's just one panel it's this lot, the next panel it's the others.
And if anything, I just thought that they just kind of came out of the amulet, but then I was like, no, the others are inside the amulet now. So what exactly is going on? It was, I don't know, it was just a little bit weird. This is quite towards the end of the issue, though, admittedly. The cliffhanger is obviously they find this cell with Dove in it, and she breaks 3 of her chains. Full page spread, in full costume now, and yeah,
it's quite a good moment. I think this ending.
Yeah, it's a decent moment.
I think it's especially it works well because Dove is she's peace, personified essentially, and the idea that this world is all chaos, right? And that's why it's constantly all the fighting and all the knights. Having Dove remember who she is, or at least this version of her, kind of becoming herself again. It's okay. The key to establishing peace again just kind of woke up.
Yeah,
I think the art plays as a really good moment as well.
I think it's an example, one of this being a trope in comics of doing the made up world just for the story, and then the other problem I think is that it was just like the cliffhanger was that it existed last issue, and we have to kind of rush through the beats because we only have one more issue left of this arc, and I mentioned Death Metal. I mean, just recently, in this very show, we did Emperor Joker, which again was this made up version of Metropolis with all these different rules and characters in different places and stuff. So So maybe I'm just a little bit tired of it right now. So it's maybe landing even less for me than it usually would be. But I do feel like in this case, it does feel a bit rushed and like not really defined. It's just kind of
Yeah, I think it falls kind of in the middle for me. Like in terms of out of the three examples we've got here, death metal so far. Bear in mind if you're listening to this in the future, we've had two full issues, three full issues,
three, yeah.
three full issues, and a couple of tie-ins.
But notably, there's it is playing off of a lot of build up, so it's not completely out of the blue
Right,
either.
and I think the thing with the death metal one is they're telling us it is the real world just morphed, so that kind of sets it apart from this one. Immediately, this is a complete separate universe essentially that someone has created for their own personal reasons, which is a bit different. And as opposed to Emperor Joker, this doesn't get too lost in the weeds of what this world is. It's there. It's just a bit different. It's kind of visually there for the sake of it, a little bit almost. Whereas Emperor Joker got a bit caught up in just look how different everything is, and that stopped being a story. Whereas this, I think, at least is balancing that better.
I mean, it's definitely better than Emperor Joker. Don't mistake anything I said as,
yeah.
as suggesting otherwise. But
yeah.
I will say, there are, Sadowski's art's typically been very good. I do think Dove's outfit's a bit on the skin like the boobs are a bit like,
yeah,
she just looks like she's painted blue and white. It doesn't look like she's actually wearing anything.
yeah, that is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, so it's weird. I don't have a lot to say about this issue, but it's one of these things where, I flew through it, I got to the end, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of, if this was a TV show, this 3-issue arc would be one episode, and it'd be an episode that I'm like, kind of, on, it's alright, but it's not one of the standouts.
It's worth noting, though, you say it's a 3-issue arc, and while it kind of is, it's actually like a sub arc, right? Because this is still all part of that larger arc going back to.
Okay, technically it is, but if again, go back to the TV show analogy, it would be 2 episodes, right? It would be like an episode that has the cliffhanger with them crashing the ship at the end, saying, "Okay, all this stuff happened. The universe is going to die in 10 seconds," right? So that episode I would have enjoyed. This episode I'd have been like, it's okay. Like,
no, I absolutely get where you're coming from. I just think it is structurally interesting that this is very different from the standard arc structure. Whereas this kind of was an arc and it's kind of broken down into what, this is a very defined 3-part story within this, 6 or 7 issue arc, whatever it is by the end. I'm not sure without checking. And that's unusual for a lot of comics. And I think it's, maybe hasn't necessarily paid off perfectly. Maybe it's had some problems, but I don't think structurally that has been the problem. I think there's some interesting experimentation going on there with the structure.
Oh yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, essentially all it really boils down to is that you have 2 3-issue arcs. It's just that the first 3-issue arc makes a point of setting up the second arc and a little bit in its first 5 pages, and that's essentially what it did.
If I recall, the end of the next issue does kind of tie it back into being that from that first arc, or first half of this arc, kind of ties them back together from memory. We'll see for sure next time.
We shall see. What are you giving it?
I'll give it a 6.5. I think it's not amazing, but I think it's still solid, easily written.
Easily read. I assume you meant.
I did mean. I couldn't decide between well written and easily read, but I mixed them up, and I just thought, if I don't say anything and don't stop, maybe you'll let it slide. But
Nope.
It wasn't to be.
No.
I think the art is solid for the most part. I think it's missing a couple of key moments, that stand out. But the actual, the layouts, the pacing is mostly there.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with a straight 6. It's not terrible. It's not bad. It's just it's not actually my type of arc, and then a couple of art critiques here or there. The big moment of them swapping, not really feeling like it was that clear to me. Without the dialogue having to really kind of explain it in the next few panels, and then the ending with Dove just looks a bit sleazy and not even so much the pose, just the skin tight, boobs.
Yeah, because the pose isn't that bad. It is
just standing there, but
the costuming.
Yeah. Particularly put in a little nipple bump just to really make it.
If I recall, because I'm not looking right now, it's only on one.
I assume that's meant to be because of the angle, because the one boob's more in profile, so they're going for the profile nipple bump, but the other one...
Maybe, but I thought that was a strange choice.
Whereas the other one, you're staring right into the eye of the nipple, so it just appears flat.
Sure, yeah, that's how nipples work.
It totally is, we talk about. Hey, think of the Ubisoft logo, where if you're just looking down at it, it's just this flat thing, but if you look at it in 3D, it's a poop.
So it is.
It's like dog poop.
It took me a second then, because you said think of the Ubisoft logo, and I went, oh god, what does the Ubisoft logo look like?
Not so much the old one that was blue, but the new one that's just like black and white.
Black and white, yeah. No, I can see it.
Anyway, there you go. That's JSA issue 14.